Thank you, Jason. Wow. I got to admit, you guys, Jason's praying for me, and I'm shaking because I'm just so excited. I haven't had the chance to talk to a group of students face to face for over a year and a half. It's just been a crazy long time, and I'm just so thrilled. Out of all the things I get to do for our church, and I get to do a lot of different stuff, there is nothing better than being part of HSM Summer Camp. I love HSM Summer Camp, and I'm thrilled to be here now. I got a confession to make. It's church camp, so confessions are probably an okay thing, and you might need to confess something at some point this week, so I'll start. I'll get the ball rolling. My confession is this: I'm getting kind of old. That's my confession. I'm getting kind of, Jason is 44, and I was Jason's youth pastor. That's how old I am. This is my 25th Saddleback summer camp. That's how old I am. That's crazy. This is my 33rd summer camp. I've been a youth pastor for 33 years. I've been a youth pastor as long as Jesus was alive. Now, I wasn't his youth pastor, but I've been doing this for a long time. I'm 55 years old. That sounds old, so I just say, people, how old are you? I say double nickels. I'm double nickels. In fact, if I was a rapper, I think that'd be my rap name, Double Nickels. But then that doesn't quite. I'm kind of a Tupac fan, so maybe I'd be like Two Nick. Hey, I'm Two Nick. I don't know. Anyway, there are some benefits to getting older. I know you don't think there are when you're 14, 15, 17, however old you are. I know you're thinking, are there any benefits to being as old as somebody like Kurt? And there are a few benefits. Let me show you one of the benefits of getting older right here. Here's not the bald spot. That's not there it is. That is my granddaughter June. Now I know every grandpa and grandma says their grandkids are the cutest, but soak that up. Kindness is my superpower. Look at her little shirt. Now, as cute as she is, brace yourself, because she has a little brother who I don't want her to know that I think he's cuter, but I think Miller might be cuter than June. Here's Miller. Come on. Look at that guy. There is no cuter little dude on the planet than Miller James Harker. So there are some benefits to getting older. And I know what you're thinking, okay, but what do guys your age do all day? What do you possibly do? And there's some options, right? Some of you might be thinking, oh, Kurt, he probably plays pickleball because all the old people. I don't. First of all, look how low that guy is. He's so bendy. I could never get that low. How in the world? That guy's like a yoga master. I don't know how he does that. So look at his ankle, by the way. His ankle cannot survive that move. I'm here to tell you, that guy did not recover from that move. Or maybe I play shuffleboard. A lot of times, like on cruise ships, the old people are out playing shuffleboard. Or maybe if I don't really want to be active, I want to keep my mind in good shape, maybe I just play checkers all day. You might be going, that's probably what. Believe it or not, I actually have a hobby. I like to surf. Here's a picture of me surfing now. Here's the thing. When I showed my wife this picture, she was really embarrassed because she's like, Kurt, that picture is grainy. The wave is tiny. Why are you're going to show that to a group of high schoolers as if it's cool, like you're going to try to be. And I said, well, babe, that's the first picture I could find of me surfing. Why don't you find a picture of me surfing? So she dug through our stuff, and she picked out this picture of me surfing, which is a little bit more, probably a little bit more realistic, probably just a little bit more honest. I didn't want you to see that one because it's a little bit embarrassing, but so there are some benefits to getting old. Another benefit to getting older is the longer you live, the more you have to look back on, right? it just makes sense. The more you have to look back on, and sometimes the more fond some of your memories become. And when I was your age, when I was in high school, like most of you, I had a group of friends. And one of the guys in our friend group, he was a good friend of ours, his name was Carlos, and Carlos absolutely hated to be left out. He hated to miss out on anything. I think Carlos was like the original FOMO person, fear of missing out. He hated it. And for some reason, not anytime, but oftentimes, when our group of friends was getting together to go do something, now this was back in the day where like, if you're getting together with your friends to go do something, it took some effort because you had to find a telephone attached to a wall somewhere in your house. You couldn't just text them, and you had to take the time to call everybody and say, hey, we're going to go to the movies. And oftentimes, we would forget. For some reason, Carlos was the one that always seemed to miss out. And when Carlos missed out, he got super angry, and for some reason, I was always the one that he called to complain about the fact that he had missed out. And the story would go something like this, over and over and over and over again, because for some reason, over and over and over again, Carlos missed out. And I'd be hanging out after the fact, maybe the next morning, my phone would ring, bring, 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 bring. That's how phones used to ring, bring, bring. Hey, it'd be Carlos. Hey, Kurt, it's Carlos. I heard you went to the movies last night. Didn't invite me. Real cool, chump. Click, and you'd hang up. Or it'd ring, ring. Hey, Kurt, it's me, Carlos. I heard you guys went out for pizza last night. Didn't invite me. Real cool, chump. Click. Ring, ring. Hey, Kurt, it's me, Carlos. I heard you guys went to Knott's Berry Farm last night. That was a big deal back then. I heard you guys went to Knott's Berry Farm last night. Didn't include me. Real cool, chump. I mean, it was always me. I was afraid, like, if he missed out on anything, I would get the phone call. I was afraid my phone would ring. Kurt, it's me, Carlos. Heard you picked your nose last night. Didn't invite me. Real cool, chump. I mean, no matter what, if he wasn't involved, if he missed out, he was so upset. And as odd as that sounds, we can kind of relate, maybe in a way that a year ago we wouldn't have related to this missing out, right? Because we've had almost a year and a half up until recently, where we missed out individually, collectively, as a country, as a world, we missed out on all kinds of stuff. And if you think about it, right? I mean, there's students who missed out on high school graduation. There's students who missed out on their prom. There's students who missed out on maybe their senior year of varsity sports. There's college students. In fact, the lockdown last March happened days before the NCAA basketball tournament was set to start. And all these college athletes who were finally going to achieve, for most of them, the biggest stage they were ever going to play basketball on, and they missed out. People missed out on being able to have funerals for their loved ones. People missed out on having their dream wedding. One of my son's best friends got married during COVID, and they had this big wedding planned that I was going to get to officiate, and they didn't want to wait, and so instead of this big, awesome wedding, we had a wedding in his backyard with about 8 people and myself, and they missed out on sort of their dream wedding. And so we can kind of relate a little bit more to Carlos, right? It's not awesome to miss out on stuff that you've been looking forward to. Well, this concept of missing out is nothing new. And when you look back through history, you can see that there are moments in history where people missed out on some pretty significant stuff. And stuff that actually had more consequence to it is as rough as it was for my son's friend and his wife to not get their dream wedding. They missed out on that. But really, when you think about it, like, what are the long-term consequences? Not horrific, right? Carlos not being invited to Knott's Berry Farm, his feelings were hurt, but it wasn't like this enormous thing that really affected his life. But when you look, especially in the Bible, there is one story of a group of people who missed out on something really, really big. God had something amazing in store for this group of people, millions of people, and they missed out. And I want to talk to you about that a little bit tonight. Tonight, I'm not going to talk about the book of John. I'm just going to kind of set up our week at camp, because this week is going to be an amazing week if you don't miss out. It's going to be an amazing week if you don't miss out. Back thousands of years before Jesus was born, the nation of Israel had been held captive by the Egyptians for hundreds of years. And if you've grown up going to church, you've heard about the story of Moses, and I'm not going to tell you the whole story tonight. I'm just going to kind of speed up to this part in the Moses Israelite freedom story, the Exodus, where Moses was handpicked by God to deliver the entire nation of Israel, the entire people, all the Israelites, millions of them, out of captivity, out of slavery, and into what the Bible calls the promised land. God promised the Israelites, I'm going to free you from captivity, and I'm going to deliver to you this wonderful land that will be all yours. And if you read the book of Numbers, there's even descriptions of the promised land. Some of the words that were used were a land flowing with milk and honey. This wonderful, beautiful land that God had set aside just for the Israelites. And so Moses takes that assignment, and Moses leads the Israelites out of captivity. There's a whole backstory where Pharaoh didn't want to let him go, but God did all this crazy stuff and convinced Pharaoh to let him go. And so Pharaoh releases the Israelites. That's where Moses parts the Red Sea. A lot of you guys have heard of all this stuff. And I want to fast forward to the moment where the Israelites are within distance of the promised land. It's theirs for the taking. And Moses sends out 12 spies to go check out this land that God says is going to be ours. And so Moses sends out 12 spies. 2 of them are named Joshua and Caleb, and then there's 10 other spies. And they go out and they're gone for 40 days. For 40 days, the spies are out checking out the promised land to kind of get their strategy, because it was occupied by people who hated God, and God was saying, look, I'm promising this land is yours, but you're going to have to take it. And so the spies were out checking things out. And I want to read, it's up on the screen, and I want to read kind of what happens when the spies come back from checking out the promised land. It's in the book of Numbers. It says this: after exploring the land for 40 days, the men returned to Moses, Aaron, and the whole community of Israel at Kadesh in the wilderness of Paran. They reported to the whole community, the whole crew of a couple million people. They reported to the whole community what they had seen and showed them the fruit that they had taken from the land. So they took samples of fruit from the promised land, and they brought it back. This was their report to Moses. We entered the land you sent us to explore, and indeed, so just like they had been told, just like God promised, and it is indeed a bountiful country, a land flowing with milk and honey. Here is the kind of fruit it produces. But the people, now listen to this, it is indeed a country. So it's everything God had promised. And they're saying that. It is what God said it was. But the people living there are powerful, and their towns are large and fortified. We even saw giants there. But Caleb tried to quiet the people as they stood before Moses. Remember, Caleb was one of the spies. Let's go at once to take the land, he said. We can certainly conquer it. But the other men who had explored the land with him disagreed. We can't go up against them. They are stronger than we are. So they spread this bad report about the land among the Israelites. The land we traveled through and explored will devour anyone who goes to live there. All the people we saw were huge. We even saw giants there, the descendants of Anak. Next to them, we felt like grasshoppers, and that's what they thought too. So here's what's going on. God has promised the nation of Israel, he's promised the Israelites, I'm going to give you this promised land. They've already had this miraculous exodus from slavery. They've seen God part the Red Sea so they could walk through it to freedom. And the spies come back, and 10 spies convince everybody, yes, just like God promised. This land is amazing. It's flowing with milk and honey. If you read the rest of that chapter, they talk about they brought home a bunch of grapes, and the grapes were so big and heavy they had to put the grapes on this post and like carry it like they maybe would a wild animal that they just shot. That's how heavy and bountiful and awesome the grapes were. And that's what they brought back to show everybody. And they're saying, yes, it's exactly like we've been promised. But the people there are huge. In fact, they were so big, we look like grasshoppers compared to them. We can't do it. It's everything God promised, but we can't do it. And they convinced everybody not to go and follow God's promise. And they missed out. In fact, if you keep reading, they didn't just miss out, but they had to wander. You've all heard about the Israelites wandering in the desert for 40 years. It wasn't because they were lost and couldn't find the promised land. It wasn't because the promised land was a 40-year journey to get to. God said, because you didn't trust me, you're going to miss out. In fact, nobody over the age of 20 years old will ever enter the promised land. Nobody over 20 that's alive right now amongst you is going to enter the promised land. And 1 year for every day, the spies were gone for 40 days. God said, 1 year for every day that the spies were out there, you're going to wander the desert. And 40 years from now, those of you who are 20 and under, you'll be allowed to enter the promised land. So everybody 20 and over missed out. They missed out on what God had planned for them. You see, sometimes we miss out on stuff and we have no choice, right? I mean, most of what we missed out on this last year, we didn't choose to miss out on. Most of the stuff that we missed out on wasn't up to us. But sometimes in life, we have a choice. And sometimes we choose to miss out on some of the things that God has for us. And here's what I want you to hear tonight. Here's what I want you to know tonight. God has something awesome planned for you this week. He's got something awesome planned for you this week. I don't know what it is for every single one of you, but he's got something amazing and wonderful planned for every single one of you this week. And I just want to start the week off by just asking you this. Please, don't miss out. Don't miss out. Because you'll have a choice. You'll have a choice to miss out or not. And I'm asking you, please don't miss out. Please don't miss out on what God wants to do for you this week. What's interesting is the Israelites so easily could have avoided missing out. They really just needed to do one thing. They really just needed to do one thing. And what they needed to do is, this is kind of an old way of saying it, but they needed to like flip the script. They just needed to flip the script just a little bit. You see, in the Bible, the passage I just read, I'll paraphrase it, I'll put it in my own words. Here's how it went. Yes, this is the spies, right? Yes, this land is flowing with milk and honey. It is amazing. It is everything God promised, but the people are giants and we're afraid. What if they would have just flipped the script? What if they would have just said instead, because those two things were true, right? Those two things were true. The place was massive, but what if they would have said this? The land is everything God promised, but the people there are super scary. What if instead they would have said, the people there are super scary, but the land is everything God promised? You see the difference? They're still acknowledging the two truths, right? I mean, the two truths are still there. Yes, it's everything God promised, but the people are so scary and they missed out. All they had to do was flip it. Yep, the people are scary, but it's everything God promised. You see, if you don't want to miss out this week on something that God has for you, for some of you, you might just need to flip the script a little bit. Because there's going to be opportunities that come up this week where you're going to be tempted to say, yeah, but, and if you give into that, you're going to miss out. Let me give you just some examples, some kind of typical summer camp examples that I came up with. Now, this might not be true for you. These are just examples. Here's one. This week at camp, I want to make some new friends, but I might get rejected. What if you flip it and say, I might get rejected, but I want to make some new friends? You see the difference in flipping the script? That's all you got to do is flip the script. The two things are true. Yeah, you might get rejected, but I want to make some new friends. You flip the script. Here's another one this week at camp. I want to really experience the worship times, but I might look kind of weird. I want to worship, but I might look kind of weird. What if you flip the script and instead you would just say, yeah, I might look kind of weird, but I really want to experience the worship times. Do you see the difference? One will cause you to miss out. One will cause you to miss out. I want to experience, but I don't want to look weird. You'll miss out. Just flip the script. Yeah, I might look kind of weird, but I really want to experience worship. Here's another example. I want to talk to somebody about my struggles, but I'm afraid. I want to talk to somebody about my struggles, but I'm afraid. What if instead this week, I'm afraid, but I want to talk to somebody about my struggles? Flip the script. Just flip the script. Here's another one. That guy is hold on, we'll come back to that one later on. We'll hold on to that one. Here's one that's not on the slide. This is a big one. I really want to know more about Jesus, but I have a hard time believing. I really want to know more about Jesus, and I have a hard time believing. Flip the script. I have a hard time believing, but I really want to know more about Jesus. It's up to you. This week, you guys, this week can change your life. This week can change your life. You don't have to miss out, and you get the choice. And some of the things, for sure, some of the things aren't that big of a deal, right? I mean, some of the stuff this week may not be that big of a deal. I really want to eat nachos for lunch, but I don't want to have bad breath. Okay, whatever. You don't have to flip the script on that, unless you really want nachos, right? I mean, okay, flip the scripts. I might have bad breath, but I really want to eat the nachos. Like some of the things that you missed out on might not have that big of a consequence. None of the things, really are as big as what the Israelites went through for 40 years. For 40 years, they missed out on the promised land. Some of them never even got to enter the promised land. They totally missed out on what God had for them. I don't know what it is for you, but this week, if you're willing to flip the script, but God is going to give you an experience of a lifetime. I'm so glad that 40 years ago, somebody flipped the script at a summer camp. When I was a sophomore in high school, I got invited to a summer camp. And it was at the beach, and we didn't do all the awesome stuff all day long like you guys get to do. Beach camp was basically you wake up in the morning, you go down, and you surf all morning, and they bring pizza for lunch, and you surf all afternoon, and then you go up and you go to the campfire, and that was camp. And I got invited by a friend who then at the last minute decided not to go to camp, bailed out. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I went anyway, and I didn't know anybody. And there was about 100 high schoolers at this camp. And because I didn't know anybody, on day one, as soon as we got off the bus, they said, you can go to the beach. I just got my surfboard. I went down the beach, and I was in the water all by myself for an hour, all by myself. And there was people all around, but I couldn't really tell who was from the youth group and who wasn't. And all of a sudden, this guy paddles over to me, and he says, hey, are you with us? And I'm like, I don't know who are you? I don't know. And he goes, no, are you at camp with First Family? That was the name of the church, First Family. Are you with First Family's youth group at camp? I said, yeah. He goes, hey, my name's Chris. And he was my age, and he goes, let's surf together. Okay. And we surfed for about an hour, and he said, well, who are you eating lunch with when the pizza comes? I don't know. He goes, well, eat with me. Well, who's in your tent? I don't know. Nobody. My buddy bailed out. Oh, you can cram in our tent with us. You don't have to be alone. And over the course of a week, Chris Schmaltz just kept talking to me and asking me about Jesus and my life. And then when camp was over, he said, hey, have you ever gone to our youth group? I said, no, I just got invited by my friend. He said, well, we meet every Wednesday night. You should come. And so I showed up. And over the course of about 6 months, Chris just answered all my questions and invited me to all the youth group stuff. And about 6 months later, I gave my life to Jesus Christ. And my life is totally forever marked, and my eternity is secure because Chris could have missed out on the opportunity to be used by God to make me feel welcome. Does that make sense? I'm not sure what was going on in his head. Chris is a really shy guy, and so it was not in his character, as I learned later, to just come and introduce himself to people like that. But the script could have gone like this, right? It could have gone like this. That guy is all alone, and I should go say hi, but I don't even know him. That would have been a totally natural thing for Chris to say, right? Like, that guy's all alone. I should go say hi, but I don't even know him. But instead, Chris flipped the script, and it went something like this. I don't even know him, but that guy is all alone, and I should go say hi. He refused to miss out on an opportunity. This week, whether it's worshiping or your cabin conversations or participating in rec or making a new friend or opening your heart up to the truth and the love of Jesus Christ, there will be opportunity after opportunity after opportunity presented to you to make this one of, if not the greatest week of your life. And with everything that I can, here's what I'm asking you. Please, please don't miss out. Don't miss out. And if you need to, when the opportunity arises, just flip the script. Just flip the script. You acknowledge that two things are true. It's okay to acknowledge your doubts and your fears and your insecurities and your questions. It's okay to acknowledge that. Just don't let that win the conversation. Just flip the script. Here's what I want you guys to do. The band's going to come out, and they're just going to kind of play some music for a minute. If you'll grab your journals that you have, just find an open spot someplace. There's places where you can take notes for each night. You can even do it on the back if you want. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to write down, think about this week at camp. And think about maybe some of the stuff this week that coming into camp you've been a little bit nervous about, you've been uncertain about. Maybe some stuff that's even bubbled up during this first time together. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to admit something. I want you to write, I really want this, but, and then put your fear down or your question. Just go ahead and admit it to yourself. Just write it down. I hope this, but. I really should, but. And go ahead and write it down and just acknowledge it. Just acknowledge the insecurity or the fear or the doubt or the question. I really want this, or I'd like to this, or I think I should this, but, and fill that blank in with whatever the hindrance might be. Just take a second and think about that. Now I want you, right below that, I want you to flip the script. Flip the script. And just reverse it. Yeah, I might not have the answers, but Yeah, I might be afraid, but whatever it is, just flip the script. Yeah, I'm nervous, but whatever you wrote down, I just want you to flip that script. And then I'm going to close in prayer, and I'm just going to ask that God would allow you to experience what you wrote down when you flipped that script. That he would give you the opportunity, that he would make it clear. Because what you just wrote down, that's what now you might not have known 10 minutes ago, but what you just wrote down is really what you're kind of hoping to get out of this week. At least it's one of the things that you're hoping to get out of this week. And God doesn't want you to miss out on that. God doesn't want you to miss out on what it is that you really want to experience this week.